News continues here on RT. The US has been hitting out at every country Snowden passed through during his border-busting bid for safety, demanding his extradition at every stop. Washington has told China that allowing him to fly to Moscow has damaged relations. RT's Gannett Khan has more.
Says Hong Kong officials had received Washington's request to arrest Snowden and still made, quote, a deliberate choice to let him go. So Washington clearly takes it as a snub from China. Here's the president's press secretary.
We are just not buying that this was a technical decision by a Hong Kong immigration official. This was a deliberate choice by the government to release a fugitive despite a valid arrest warrant, and that decision unquestionably has a negative impact on the U.S.-China relationship.
We remember that in response to the U.S. request to arrest Snowden, the government of Hong Kong issued a statement saying that the documents the U.S. provided did not fully comply with the legal requirements under Hong Kong law. But also, in that same statement, the government of Hong Kong said they wanted more information from the U.S. government about the hacking of computer systems in Hong Kong by U.S. government agencies. And that was one of Edward Snowden's revelations. Snowden gave China a great political counter-argument to U.S. constant accusations against China. Now, the U.S. can't accuse China of cyber attacks without being accused of hypocrisy. So there is an interesting dynamic behind all this. The U.S. wanted China, or the semi-autonomous government of Hong Kong, to give them the man who had leaked U.S. secrets. But one of those secrets is about activities of the U.S. government against China. So it's possible that China's dilemma was to either thank Edward Snowden or to arrest him. Hong Kong says they've done everything in accordance with their laws. Now, as far as Russia, Edward Snowden has been in transit in Russia, and Russian authorities say they have no legal authority to arrest him. But U.S. politicians and pundits on television use what seems like a Cold War rhetoric to present Russia and China as the enemies that Snowden is helping. And the imagination of some journalists is running wild as they joke about how Edward Snowden is being briefed by the Russian president. And one former official, also on one of the news channels, said Russia and China are going to use this to embarrass the U.S. One should argue it's Snowden's revelations that embarrass the U.S., not Russia or China. But that's exactly what's happening now. U.S. policymakers are doing everything possible to divert attention away from Snowden's revelations, and certainly one way of doing this is to present it as a Cold War style cat and mouse chase. That way you have U.S. media now almost cheering for Edward Snowden's capture, although just a little while ago some of the same journalists were grateful for a greater public awareness of the fact that the U.S. government is spying on millions of people who've done nothing wrong. Snowden, of course, has no illusions as to what lengths the U.S. government will go to catch him. And here's what he said shortly after he broke the story.
I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations. And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be. You can't come forward against the world's most powerful intelligence agencies and be completely free from risk, because they're such powerful adversaries that no one can meaningfully oppose them. If they want to get you, they'll get you in time.
Edward Snowden also said it's not government persecution that he fears most. He said, the greatest fear that I have about the outcome of these disclosures is that nothing will change. From how it's developing, it doesn't look like things will change for Americans anytime soon. But for the world, the implications of his revelations could be significant. For example, the fact that the U.S. now can't accuse China of cyber attacks without being accused of hypocrisy.